Have you ever set a really exciting big goal for yourself just to see it fall apart? Have you gotten really excited about doing something or accomplishing something in your life, or especially in your riding, but then it just seemed unattainable to be able to actually get there? That's what I want to talk about and what I want to help you with in today's blog video. So I'm Callie from CRK Training, and you're watching our weekly video show. And over the past few weeks, we're in the New Year's season, and we've been talking about things like reinforcements, using positive reinforcement on ourselves, and then also asking some really reflective questions to think about what kind of goals you might want to set for yourself in your riding. But in today's video, now we're going to actually dig in and we're going to talk about how you can make those goals really happen for yourself this year. We're going to begin by looking at how goals are actually achieved. And I'm going to be sharing some frameworks that I picked up from BJ Fogg. BJ is a computer scientist at Stanford, but he also writes and speaks about behavior change. So when we have an outcome that we want to achieve for ourselves, when we have a big goal that we want to reach, we get there by doing a number of different behaviors. So a behavior is basically the same as a habit, and a habit is something that we do on a routine basis, whether that's every day or every week, but it's something that we do on a routine without a lot of conscious thought or decision making. So if we look at a very generic example, if we wanted to lose weight or get more fit or more healthy, we would have behaviors such as getting enough sleep. We might have a behavior of eating breakfast every day. We might have a behavior of walking or jogging for 15 minutes in the morning, and we might have a behavior of not eating 2 hours before bedtime. So those are all the different things that we have to start doing on a routine basis if we're going to actually reach a big goal of achieving better health. Now let's look at a few more specific examples for us as equestrians. So let's say we have a goal of improving our riding. And I would encourage you, when you're thinking about goals for yourself, to keep them fairly specific. So I kept it broad here so that you could use your own examples. So maybe for you, improving your riding is being able to finally post the trot and not lose your rhythm. Maybe a goal for you is being able to canter 2 times around the arena. Maybe it's going out on your first trail ride, or maybe you've got a competition coming up, or you want to increase the height or the technical courses that you're jumping. But if your big goal is improving your riding, there's some specific things that you can do to start getting there. So start to think about what behaviors would it take, what do you need to do, and what habits could you create to get you closer to reaching that goal. So it might be riding more often. It might be spending more time learning, so reading or watching videos so that you can get better. It might be practicing some key exercises that you know you should be doing, but somehow when you end up riding, you just don't get them done. Or it might be doing something like one of my favorite practices, and that's journaling. So recording your progress and recording things that you want to remember or that you want to work on for the future. So now we're going to take a look. We're going to go even a little bit deeper in how do we actually find out what we need to do, and then how do we make a habit out of that new behavior. When you want to create a new habit for yourself, the first thing to do is, again, consider your goal. So remember, you want this to be something that's specific for you and something that you want to achieve. The next thing is, what do you need to do to get there? So what are the things that you want to do on a regular basis in order to move you closer to that goal? We talked about a few examples for improving your riding, and we're going to go through them a lot more specifically as we go a little bit deeper here. So the next thing you want to think about is, whatever it is you need to be doing, how can you make that thing really easy? And then when we're creating a habit, there's something called a habit loop. So whenever we do things on a regular basis, something will cue our behavior. So for example, if we're sitting at work and we're sitting at our desk working away, and all of a sudden we look up and we see the clock says 12 o'clock, that's our cue, it's time for lunch. We get up, we go to the break room, and we start eating our lunch. And the lunch, the food, is a reward. So we had the cue of the clock hitting 12, We had the behavior of going to eat lunch, and then we had the reward of we now feel full and satisfied. So whenever we're looking to create a new behavior, we want to think about what can serve as our cue in order for us to start doing that thing, to basically remind us what we need to do. And then finally, we've got to think about what's our reward. So a really simple and kind of a funny example that I also learned from BJ Fogg is for flossing your teeth. So a lot of us don't floss. It's something that we all know we should do, but for some reason we just don't. However, if you can make flossing really easy, so the goal becomes, I just want to floss one tooth. The cue becomes after I brush my teeth. So after I brush my teeth, I floss one tooth, and then the reward is, yay, I'm actually flossing my teeth. So what happens with this is you get in the habit of flossing that one tooth because it takes hardly any time. But then you start realizing that this is kind of ridiculous, I'm only flossing one tooth, and you start flossing your whole mouth. But because it was easy in the beginning, it becomes a habit. And then you can do more and more, and you get the reward of actually, for one, doing what you set out to do, plus you can think of even more rewards, like giving yourself that little pat on the back, or even giving yourself a more physical reward, like even a little bite of your favorite food or a little extra downtime. So let's take some specific examples from riding and look at how we can apply these 5 steps to creating some really good new habits to improve your riding. All right, so for our first one, if we want to improve our riding, a really good thing to do would be to ride more often. But riding more often can actually be kind of big. So we might come up with this idea that I want to ride 5 days a week and I'm going to ride an hour every time and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to improve so much. But what are the chances that you're actually going to go out to the barn, you're going to get your horse, you're going to ride for that full hour, and that you're going to do that 5 days a week? Unless you have a lot of time, or if your horses are maybe at your house, that might be a pretty big thing to actually make happen. But what if you could make it really simple? What if, in order to be successful, all you had to do was just go to the barn 3 times a week? Just show up at the barn and that's it. No pressure that you've got to ride when you get there. You don't even have to go out in the field if you don't want to. Just go in the barn, walk around the barn. If you want, you can leave, but you've already, just by going, accomplished what you said that you were going to do. So what if, now that you have that, how could you use a cue? So for example, look at your own schedule, and maybe on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons, as soon as I leave work, I just drive right to the barn. So now that becomes your cue of when I leave work, I head right to the barn. And then you have the reward. You have first kind of that intrinsic reward of, I'm actually doing this, I'm getting there, I'm getting to the barn. And if you want, you could even give yourself a more extrinsic reward, such as, this is kind of a funny example, but it really does work in studies. You could give yourself like a little piece of chocolate when you get there, or find something that you enjoy. Maybe it's just sitting someplace at your barn, at the farm, that's really peaceful, that makes you feel good. You could go and just sit there, and that could be your reward for showing up. So what happens when you start doing that? You're already accomplishing what you said you were going to do, but a lot of us as equestrians are probably a little bit of overachievers. So if you start going to the barn, you've already accomplished what you said you would do, but now why not take it a little bit further and actually bring in your horse and brush him? And then you're here, why not just go out and ride him? So you end up creating a habit where now you are riding more, but you made a really low barrier to get started. It's the exact same concept that we use when we're talking about training our horses, and we have something big that we want to teach them, like a flying lead change, but we break it down into just the smallest steps in order to train the horse how to do this. So you're using the same training principles that you already recognize for your horse. Now we're just thinking about how you can use them on yourself. So here's another example. If you want to improve your riding, something that you could do that's going to help with that is more time learning. So reading, watching videos. And to break that down, instead of thinking that you've got to spend hours and hours doing this, what if you could just spend 10 minutes each day? And again, look at your schedule. Maybe it's after lunch, I pull out a book, I set a timer on my phone, and I'm just going to read for 10 minutes. Or I'm going to pull up and I'm going to watch one video every day as I eat breakfast. And then what's the reward for that? So the rewards you can think about, again, rewards are a very individual thing. And if you go back and watch that positive reinforcement video, you can start to think about what are the rewards for you and how can you use them to start rewarding yourself and using more of that positive reinforcement on yourself. So another thing that we might want to do to improve our riding is journaling. So writing down progress, writing down things you want to remember. And a way you could break that down is maybe 1 page after every ride. Or if a page sounds a lot, you're just going to write down 3 sentences, 3 bullet points about what you learned, what you want to remember, what you want to do differently. So is there somewhere you could keep your journal where you're going to see it after each ride and remember to write down that page or those 3 bullet points? Maybe you could keep it in your tack box. Maybe you could keep it in the console in your car. And then again, how can you reward yourself? Even a simple little, yes, I did it, can be a reward. And then for our last one, if you want to improve your riding, a really good way to do that is to consistently practice some key exercises. And you probably already know some of these exercises that you should be practicing. If you don't, just take a look at our channel here and you'll find a lot of other little exercises that you can start practicing. But one of the ones that I think is most important is breathing. So just thinking about breathing, practicing those deep diaphragmatic breaths, which means that you're breathing into your belly, breathing into your lower abdomen. So what if, breaking down this, you could do just 1 lap around your arena of thinking about and being aware of your breathing at the start of every ride. Your cue could be as soon as I mount up, as soon as I get on my horse, I just start walking, I go once around thinking about my breathing, and then again I have the little reward. Either the reward of, yes, I did it, or you could even think of something else. So here's some ideas, here's some examples of different ways that you can apply the known frameworks for changing behavior and creating new habits to your own life as an equestrian. And I would really encourage you to think about how you can use these same ideas in other areas of your life for other things that you want to achieve or accomplish as well. So remember to create that big goal and then think about what do you need to do. Break it down into the smallest little steps that you know you can do because they're going to be so easy. And then put a cue to them. How are you going to remember to do them? And then don't forget to reward yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We've got some really exciting stuff coming up here at CRK Training. Next week, we're going to be starting an online workshop with Wendy Murdoch. And Wendy's actually going to have a lot of little key exercises for you that you can practice both in that free workshop and then also in her course that's going to be following it up. And it's great for things that you can do even if you're not going to be at the barn riding. I know for us here in Pennsylvania, it's kind of cold out and it's hard sometimes to actually be out riding if there's snow on the ground, if you have frozen ground and you don't have the luxury of an indoor arena, but there's still a lot you can do to be improving your riding, and we're here to help you with that. So thank you so much for watching. I'd love for you to leave a comment and tell me one new habit that you're going to create to improve your riding going forward. And if you're watching this anywhere besides crktrainingblog.com, go there now. I'll see you in the comments.